So first of all, I'm going to talk about her addiction because I think that like people tuning into the show might think that I was okay with my mom's addiction because I talk about it so easily and I kind of make jokes about it. And it seems almost like I think it's funny or cute. That definitely is not the case. It took me a very, very long time to become comfortable with it. And there is a difference between accepting someone's addiction and approving of it. So I never approved of the fact my mom used drugs. That goes against what I wanted for her. It goes against what I want for anybody. We all have our vices and we do things, and I think if everything's in balance and something's not like taking over, then I think that, if they don't have a problem, it's not my place to really judge them. But my mom did have a problem, and she couldn't deal with her emotions. And every time something got stressful in her life, she would turn to the drugs. And I started to notice that. And I was also like flying home from whatever country I was in to come visit my mom. I would have to take these bus rides that were like an hour and a half to go see her after flying into Canada, into Vancouver. And I'd often stay at places that, it depends. Like it wasn't my home. It never felt super comfortable. So then I would take this hour and a half bus ride to go visit my mom, and she would give me like 20 minutes of her time. And she'd go, oh, I have to go. And usually when I get there, she'd be so messed up that I couldn't even have like a proper visit with her. So I started to think about it, and I was like, I think she just like needs to go use. And I know she's an addict. It's not like I didn't know that. I've just been an addict my entire life. So I came up with this plan that I said, okay, Mom, if you need to go use and that's why you're taking off and like only have these short visits, like why don't you go use and then like, I think she had a phone or something at point or something, or we make a meeting point and I'd be like, then come back and get me because I don't want to be there when she's using, but at the same time, like I want to have a visit. And so we started doing that, and it was really interesting because my mom's addiction got like, it almost got better when I allowed her to just do it. She would kind of go off and she would do it, and then she would come back and she would be almost less like high than she was before when she was cutting these visits. And I think because she knew that she would have to like have her next hit in a certain amount of time, so she would like do extra or something. So she'd be like really messed up. But as soon as I started to like allow her to do her stuff and then come back, she it was almost like she did less, like she wasn't as anxious or nervous about having to do it again. So this continued for a while. And then eventually, when she was kind of living in her place, she lived in a women's shelter. It was a very small room, and she couldn't just like go off, and I guess I could have left the building. But at this point, it's been already years that we've kind of like accepted that she's doing her drugs and that we have the visit after she's done it. So she would just do it in the other room, and I'd always say, okay, let me know when it's okay to come in. And that was like a boundary that I had, like, don't be too messed up. I want to if it makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to say that. I'm going to leave. I'm going to do whatever it takes to feel safe. And so that happened for a while. And so she and we would just like, okay, sometimes she would get a little too high, but she'd be really, really funny. And it was a weird position for me to be in because as much as I didn't want her to be an addict, she was, and she was still just a really funny person. So it was really hard for me to deal with that kind of level, like what I'm accepting, not accepting, like the judgments that I'm making. And like, it was really challenging, but at the same time, we had so much fun together. And we would have the camera on a lot of the time, and it would be pointing towards us, and my mom would often talk to the camera like it was the audience. And so she'd be like, oh, so like we'd be reading a book together or something, and she'd be like, so just to the audience, so this is where we're at in the book, but we'll be back next week. And like she would just do cute things like that. And so we were laughing, and we were like, we should just have our own show. Here I am making this documentary with her, and like, who knows when that's going to be finished? Like, why don't we just have these like show episodes? And then we were like, well, what should we call it? So we were like, I don't know, Mummy and Me or something like that. And then we came up with like Mum and Me. So I know that my mom wanted to have that show with me, so now that she's not here, I feel like it's a part of me kind of honoring her life. And I think when people pass, we often shut down like any connection we have to that person after they're gone, and we just kind of like, we're like, well, they're not here. But I chose that I would celebrate her. I would continue to act almost like she was here. You know, when I go on trips and stuff, I speak to her and I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, I would always like call her and like tell her about my trips. Obviously, it's still really real. But now I just kind of bring her with me, and I look at things and I imagine she's in the car with me. And when I'm with my dog that I just adopted, which I think she gave me, I look at him sometimes and I think about how much my mom would love his personality. So anyways, that's how the show came about. And I thought it was really important to kind of discuss how I came to accept her addiction. Because as I make this really light and humorous, it was not. For most of my life, I struggled to accept who she was because I didn't want her to be who she was. I wanted her to be clean. I wanted her to wear makeup. I wanted her to have a normal job. I wanted her to come to visit me in different countries I was in. I wanted to share my life with her. But in accepting somebody else's path, you don't always get the opportunity to change that, what they have for themselves. And I knew that I wanted a relationship with her. So I learned somewhat quickly, I guess. I would say it was kind of quickly because I got many years with her that were very, very special. And I don't think I would have got those years if I didn't come to some sort of place within myself of acceptance. And I think that it allowed her to feel more free and less judged. And I think it was like, it was probably one of the, besides my grandparents, I think like our relationship really healed her. I think just to have people love you, even though they don't want you to be doing what you're doing, it's a pretty big gift to be given. And I think about that actually, and I was going to talk to my mom's doctor today about that because I struggle with this film, because on one side it sounds like I'm saying like, let's just accept all the addicts, let's just be okay with it, and at the same time I kind of feel like, how do you still say that you don't want somebody to be an addict? How do you still guide your friends and the people that you love towards maybe seeing their addictions, but at the same time accepting them? It's a very, very difficult place to be in, and to navigate between that and to make the other person still feel accepted and loved. And sometimes I think that we can't accept their addictions. It's just too difficult for us, or maybe we just don't want that energy in our lives. I witnessed a friend of mine with an addiction recently, and it really challenges me because I'm like, I live my whole life with an addict. And I've chosen really carefully to select certain people into my life now. And I want people that work on themselves. I want people that are doing good in the world. I want people that are kind and considerate of each other. I want goodness around me. And I feel like addiction is a negative energy. I feel like it's an escape mechanism, and I feel like it's dark and it's heavy. And that is so not in tune with what I want for myself. And so I'm sometimes at a crossroads with people where I have to say, do I continue to let this person in my life And I think, when it's not your parent, it might be a little easier because there's so many friends you can have out there. There's not so many parents you get. So with my mom, I was able to accept it, but I'm still struggling with friends. So that's where I am today with that. So I'm just kind of recapping on what I was going to do for my show last week, since I had poor internet connection and my mom's doctor wasn't able to join us yet, but hopefully I'll get to do another episode later. And last week I wanted to end with this quote that I had actually posted on my page. It's onto the To Whom and Back page. I'll call it our page because even though I run it and my mom's not here, I still feel like she's part of it. And it says, "I don't think you understand how beautiful you make my world just by existing in it." And that's by Nicole Therese. And the reason that I posted that was because throughout my film, I've been doing this for 16 years. Only about a year and a half ago did I actually want to put myself in it. And I struggled so hard with that because I thought, when I first started it, I had an editor and I had some producers in New York that were interested in it. And they came at it from this angle. They were like, "Oh, it's amazing. You're this model and then you have this juxtaposition. Your mom's like an addict and it's poverty and all these things." And I thought, oh, that's so horrible to think of. That's just like gross. Like, why would I want to put myself on a pedestal and like put my mom lower just to like sell something or to make money? And so I just went the opposite way. I just went the complete opposite way. I didn't want myself in it. I was super protective of how my mom was being shown. And even until like maybe a few months ago, I struggled with showing my mom in the reality of her life. It was very hard for me to show like her in this really ugly phase where she was like on oxygen tanks and all swollen up from the medicine she was on. And, she had a complete absence. I think that's what you call it, like an arm. It was just where she used and it was completely infected. And she looked scary. And I wanted to protect her. I didn't want her to look bad. But the reality is, I saw that. I had to witness that. And it's not like I made anything up. And so it's been a challenge for me to get to this place where I allow people to see what I saw. This coming month, because of the pandemic that's happening, and I was about to launch my fundraiser for the film, and I had an investor that was going to put $10K in. I had all this stuff happening, and I was so excited. I was like, yes, finally it's going to happen. And then this happened, and the investor just disappeared. The editors had the stuff, but they had no money to start, so I kind of had a little bit of a meltdown, and then as I do, I look for opportunities. Hey guys, thanks for joining. So I that's why I started the show, because I was like, what can I do? What can I do that's still moving things forward? Maybe not in the way that I thought, but in a way that is still connected to what I want. So I actually get really excited about doing these talks, and I think that they're very therapeutic for me and healing, and I think that they'll help me with my film in general. But yeah, so to go back to like what I'm doing with the film, I was on a call with, I'm attached to this nonprofit now, and that was like going to be part of my fundraiser. And so they're actually helping all the people. So they're like a nonprofit for filmmakers, and they're still giving like these free talks on like how to still fund during this time, and just like insight. And it's been amazing. Like, it's so empowering to hear just people not stopping, not letting this just diminish their dreams. And in a similar position as me, she was just saying, like, now she can't finish her film, like, she doesn't have the funding and all this stuff. And she, I believe she was working on hers for like 19 years. And the guy said to her, he says, well, why don't you just edit yourself? And this was like, ding, you know, like, I've had people say that to me so many times. And after you shoot and you edit and you put all this energy into something, it's like the last thing you want to do is like edit it. Like, I totally understood where she was coming from, and she was like, I do not want to do that. But I was like, she also said she didn't have the skill set, and she was like, she didn't want to learn something new. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have the skill set. Like, I've taught myself how to edit. I've edited versions of this film before. I know this story inside and out. Like, I'm the best person to edit this. And now there's like all this time and opportunity to do that. So as of next month, I am hibernating with a computer, and I'm gonna push this through. And, you know, maybe that's the beauty in this situation, is it's like helping us redirect our lives, or to put our energy towards the things that like really will be the best path. And I'm pretty excited about it, actually. So stay tuned. And I thought after I edit it, you know, like, then I can get maybe, you know, if the pandemic like calms down and stuff like that, I can maybe still try to get some funding, and I can get some editors on, and they can just use what I've edited and maybe like touch it up and make it better. And, you know, so anyways, that's where I'm at with the film. And I'm also putting myself much more into it. I realize that I am a voice. I have a lot of experience with dealing with this, and I'm here, and I'm still here, and I'm going to be the one that like pushes this forward. So I guess I have to accept that I should be in it. So before I end today, I'm just going to answer one of the questions that I was asked on this call. Why do you think your mom didn't want to feel her emotions? So this is like the number one reason I believe my mom was an addict. I noticed every single time an emotion came up, and I've noticed it with people that have addictive personalities around me. As soon as something challenges them emotionally, the first thing they turn to is like alcohol or drugs or sex or the gym or anything. And granted, like, please, I hope we all turn to the gym. But, you know, we have addictive personalities, and we turn to things. And my mom's vice was drugs. And I clearly saw it when I was actually reviewing some of the footage recently. And my mom was talking about getting emphysema. And she was like telling, you know, me that she had like 6 months to live, and she couldn't talk about it. She was just like so uncomfortable with that reality, which I think we all would be if we were told we had 6 months to live. Like, I kept trying with my mom. I was like, Mom, your feelings and your situation is not because you're an addict. I was like, that is universal. Like, I constantly kept trying to tell her, like, your feelings are not just because you're an addict. You're a human being. Like, I feel that too. And I think that is like one thing that I see in treatment centers is like they tell people that they're addicts and that's why they are the way they are, instead of being like, no, this is a human emotion. Everybody feels it. Let's figure out like a nice healthy way to deal with it, which other people have to do as well, you know? So I was constantly trying to break down this mental dialogue that she had in her head that was just like, she was separate from everybody else because she was an addict. But at the end of the day, she couldn't hear that. She couldn't comprehend just how to be a human. She couldn't understand how to use this emotion and not use it, but just observe this emotion or just be with this emotion. Instead, she had to run as quick as it came up, and she had to run to like her vice. And I remember, and I have it on film, and, you know, I'm probably going to start putting these things together where I do this like talk, and then I show you some of the footage that actually connects to it. And I was like, she's like, I gotta go. She's like, I need to go get stuff. And I was like, no, Mom, like, just feel it. Like, it's totally fine. And she's like, no, I gotta go. And she could not stay still. She had to do it. And so eventually I just, you know, I'm not going to like jump on her. So I just witnessed that a lot. And I I hope, like, even with myself sometimes, like, I notice that, like, when something comes up and it feels like it sucks, like some emotions we do not like I do not like, and like how quickly I want to like change that, and I want to be like, I want to feel something different. And I've been doing a lot of work and just like being okay with that emotion and just like sitting with it and observing it. And now I'm learning how to give it love, because usually we've just been pushing these things out, these emotions, and we label them as like bad and good. We're like, I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel like, pain at all. And so what we do is we label that as like bad, and we just like reject it out of ourselves. And then we struggle because we don't know how to deal with that emotion, and it's still there and it still keeps coming up. So I've been listening to this like Buddhist teacher who just talks about saying like, you belong. So when those emotions come up, you just say, you belong. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Like including them back into your life and including them back into your heart. So I feel like that's really powerful. And I wish, that my mom would have been able to do something like that, or that, I could have taught her, but I think that comes from like a very young way of dealing with life. And that's just how people cope sometimes. And yeah, my mom wasn't able to break free from that addiction. And in the end, I had to say, okay, well, this is a person that I truly love, and I do not want to not have a relationship with. And so I decided I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep this person in my life. So I was just speaking about that because I wanted people to understand, when I come from this place of like joy, when I talk about these stories with my mom, they were not always joyful. There was so much pain and hurt and misunderstanding before that. And I'm happy that they did turn into joy, because those are the memories that I get left with. So thank you all for joining, and I hope that my mom's doctor can come on later, but I think today was good, and I got to process some stuff and share some stuff, so thank you for being here.